Clearly, in order to manage spaces that way, you need a system, which the soft infrastructure that we spoke about, that regulates things well, regulates air quality, regulates parking, manages public spaces, zones it. And yet, the question is, how can the megapolis carry our system forward as well? I'm going to ask the audience a question. Because Jagat spoke about information and you spoke about livability. How many of those of you here who are living in Colombo or its suburbs understand or know why you pay the rates that you do? So we all pay rates to the municipality. We pay a certain amount of money every quarter. It's a land tax or a tax on the land and the housing we have. Can anyone raise their hands if they know how that is calculated? Okay. This is something we all pay. We are the most elite and sophisticated people in the country, Nayana. Yeah. And we don't know how our land tax is calculated.
Even I don't know, to be really honest.
And he was Director General Urban Development.
No, but we don't charge it. The municipality does. We charge the development fees.
Yes,
that's very clear. But I wanna push back a little bit on this institutions point. I know Jagat mentioned, we have lots of institutions, and we do. But I think the result where we are as a city or as a country and as communities is a result of how we have been regulated by various agencies. And you're absolutely right, Jagat. There are lots of institutions, maybe even too many institutions, and there's very good policies and laws in place. The problem is the synchronization doesn't really happen. Enforcement is very, very difficult. So I would actually argue that we need to really rethink that, because our institutions are actually rather weak. We need to think in a concerted way about strengthening our institutions, fundamentally. I'll give you an example. Now, we're trying to do this light metro. And we have nobody in Sri Lanka that has actually built a light metro. Yeah. So to counterbalance
problem as well.
We need that kind of capacity. We need to build that kind of expertise pool in our cities. We're doing mass scale development that we're planning, but we need fundamental changes in the condominium law to enable mixed use developments of the scale we're talking about. So we need major policy changes, and we need a policy environment that makes it possible for multiple agencies to coordinate. And in a way, the megapolis is about that. And it's a work in progress, but the idea is not to reinvent RDA and UDA and NHDA, but really to get them all to sing to the same tune.
Yeah, so I'm going to now move to Harsha, because I've taken you all a little bit over time. That's because we started the panel late. I'd like to stop by in about 10 minutes or less. Harshan, one vision is this integration and sophistication of institutions, which we're hearing. The other vision is of doing a megapolis with a mega institution. Doing one institution that can make all the decisions and centralize all the decisions. And Sri Lanka has set up these mega institutions at different times to solve problems. The BOI became a mega institution, and there are other mega institutions being proposed right now. But I'm going to put this in the context of the new government, right? One of the changes that we had in terms of a new government is we said we are going to have governance, being changed, and we're going to have a more democratic, consultative government system where decisions on development and change are not going to come simply top-down. But there's also this other view that something like the megapolis needs, strong top-down decision-making. So what is your vision for how people are included, their concerns are listened to and embraced, while at the same time being able to go forward rapidly? Because now you struggle with that problem. That speed sometimes means you don't have time to listen. But but listening seems quite important to prevent you from going in the wrong direction. Uh, how does the new government, in this new context, think about this challenge for the megapolis and for development?
The development agency has a sunset clause, so it will shut down after a while. The trade agency also will have a sunset clause, it will shut down. I see Rohan seated in the second row. When he drew up the ICT agency, he put a sunset clause there. So ICT agency technically should be dead by now.
That's answering your own question, really.
No, that's the truth. That's true. So we don't go around creating these huge agencies. Nana is I saw in his designation, Chief Investment Officer of the Megapolis project. It's a project. It has a ministry to facilitate this work. But I don't think you can put that on us, Nishan.
No.
Wait,
So
wait,
I actually come back to the grander vision. This is not a criticism.
No.
But really, how do we posture a new approach to development and how in
Yeah,
megapolis?
so I'll come to that, but I had to answer that question. Because otherwise, if it goes unanswered, people may think otherwise. But yes, so this is the Prime Minister said recently, we are the first country to write a constitution on Facebook. We are. Who opened such amount of public consultation before writing a constitution? Our opposition can go to various religious leaders and make various statements. They can criticize the constitution making with people who have already made submissions. I don't know if you saw it. The volume is this thick. It's about 1,000 pages of people giving us their thoughts on how to write the new constitution. Who did that? But at the same time, we've got committees, they got deadlines, and we got to move the process forward. So it is a difficult balance, but I think fundamentally we believe that it is important that we listen to people. I'll give you another example. The Office of the Missing Persons. The contours of the domestic accountability mechanism. We are talking to people. We are talking to people in Matra, we are talking to people in Jaffna. We are talking to them face to face. We are talking to them in focus groups. We are talking to them over the internet. So if there is one thing that we believe in, and that is that we need, to the extent possible, Nishan, to get people's views. And everyone here can participate in writing the Constitution. It's open. You can go to the website. And by law, when we turned the parliament into a constitutional assembly, by law, we have undertaken to ensure that every comment, verbatim, must be reported. There is no one sitting at the back office saying, oh, I don't like this comment, so let's delete it and not put it in the public domain. So that's a kind of a lengthy answer, but I tried to
So you
capture.
see the megapolis planning and development project having the same ethos of actually consulting people about the consequences on their lives as we go forward.
That's a specific. I am not involved in the megapolis.
Yeah.
I mean, we have people like Nayan. I'm glad that, we bring people like, there are many, right, who are able to understand the problem and come up with alternate suggestions, talk to people, discuss, debate. We're just having this debate right now, whether the light rail should go on the center median of the Parliament Road or not. But we will have that debate, and consultation will happen. Right? I, as the member of parliament for that area, will have my own views based on what people's views are. So I will bring that to him. And somebody, I saw a question, I'm going to take the liberty
Please,
to
go
answer
ahead.
that,
Yeah.
about the public parks. He said, please no politics. 2 years ago, I had cleaner walkways. What happened to that now? I tell you, I went to the new chairman of the UDA. I asked him the question, how come my Valley Park in Navala is not maintained? Because I sent people and asked them, why are these plants dying? Then they said, UDA didn't send me fertilizer. Right? He didn't send me fertilizer. I have asked for 3 months. So I went to the UDA. I asked him, Mr. Chairman, where is my fertilizer? I did. Then he said, look, those days nobody said you have to account for the fertilizer. Now I have to account for the fertilizer. So that is the delay in the fertilizer. But I must thank you, Mr. Chairman. The very next day, the fertilizer arrived. So my plants are getting its life back, and hopefully once we sort out these sort of institutional issues, I think
Yeah.
we can have those places maintained better.
Yeah, Lakshman will end in 2-3 minutes. And I want to give Mr. Ranatunga a chance to say one thing about business. And after that, I want to give Nayana 2 minutes to pull it together and say, this is what I've heard and this is what I still believe in the megapolis. Okay, or just to pull our conversation together. Mrs. Ranatunga, you have talked about PPP and businesses joining with government. But we've also, Harsha's been at the forefront in the past of criticizing the escalation of costs in road development projects and other sorts of projects in which the private sector was involved. Now, do you have a vision as the chairman of the chambers for the way business will function and needs to function to deliver the kind of level playing field, to deliver the kind of competitiveness, to deliver the kind of attractive investment environment that will exist when there is confidence that everybody gets the same chance and that private-public partnerships are done in a fair way? What is your vision as chairman of the Ceylon Chambers to drive businesses in that direction?
I think it's a. I think the basically I think we have it's a matter of there is a trust deficit which exists between the private and the public sector, and I think to some extent I think it is well placed, and I think to some extent it's misplaced. Always I think what we have to do is, as a country which is a developing country, we have to, there is no way that I think we can cut corners on this issue. If as responsible institutions, the private sector has to own up and play its role, and to see that we come up to standard and we come up to scratch where it really matters. I think there the private sector has to play the role which will, I think, then reciprocate in a way that the public sector will build its confidence. Because I don't think one side can take the blame. It is, I think, something which has to do with both sides, and the both sides have to see that they take equal responsibility. I think that the private sector has to play a role, and I think if the private sector plays its role, the public sector, I think, then should own up and reciprocate. So I think it is something which is something I would say it's on balance, but I think there is a role that both parties have to play there.
Thank you very much, Nan. I'm going to give you the last word before we call
Thank
it to a
you.
close. Yeah.
So just to wrap up, here's what I would say. I think clearly this transformation of the Western province, the megapolis idea, if you will, has huge potential to change the way you and I live in this country. And it has huge potential to drive a transformation in not only physical terms, but in multiple ways in our society. But that's not going to come easy. It's going to be a very difficult, very complicated process where you have to balance business, the poor, the rich, various political interests, institutions, you name it. And it's going to be a whole range of people that we need to balance to get a viable, doable outcome. So I would say the megapolis is going to be a journey. It's not going to be a very quick trip. It's going to be a journey that we will be on for the next decade, maybe 2, maybe even 3. And because of that, I think the process we follow in unfolding a transformation of the Western Province is going to be as important as the kind of initial milestones that we would see. So I would say we need to focus on process and get that right and go in a measured way.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for your talks and your responses. I'm going to hand it back to Lakshman to end the session for us today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nishan. And before I thank our panel, did a wonderful job. I would like to thank once again people who made this possible. MIT, Millennium IT, and London Stock Exchange Group. Been our lead sponsor for almost now 1 year, and Enterprise Connectivity Partner Dialogue Enterprise. Thank you so much, Jerry. Good to have you with us today. And also Port City Colombo Private Limited, Leanne and his colleagues. We have been working together for quite some time. And Standard Chartered Bank, Cinnamon Life, Hitachi, Allianz, eFutures, and Jet Holdings, and also all the facilitating organizations and the national partners, University of Bogota. I believe Professor Ananda is somewhere here in the audience, and also RDA, UDA, and Public Utilities Commission, and most importantly, the Western Region Megapolis Project, and Oxford Business Group, and of course JLL, who will, and some of these join us, some of them will join us in sessions tomorrow. And just a few things I would like to pick from panel discussion. Thank you so much, Dr. Silva, Harshada Silva, for reminding us that we have always been a globalized nation. And we always had this free trade. We always believed in free trade. But unfortunately, that has now been challenged. And he mentioned about 3 things: trade, talent, and capital. That is what's going to build the next stage of our economy. I would like to add one more thing, that's innovative ideas. Of course, partly comes from with the talent. Thank you so much, Dr. Silva. Great to have you with us. And Harsha has always been a great supporter of LBO. For the last nearly 20 years. We launched LBO in 1999, 18 years ago. And he has been a great supporter of us even before he became a politician, when he was an honest man. So thank you so much for giving us that historical perspective. We have this Marag and Marana Wurtikan, who are taking the whole, 20 million people for a ransom. So against the free trade, against the free flow of labor, capital, and innovative ideas. So we cannot do that. We need to go back to, where we who were in the real history. Thank you so much, Naina. I want to thank you for, again, shamelessly exploiting your generosity and getting a lot of ideas from you in designing this. And look forward to having you again tomorrow. And tomorrow is not going to be an easy day for you, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. Thanks so much. Buhuntan, you have the unique honor of, being the head of a world's only walking dead institution. Thanks so much, Munthan, for joining us. And Samantha is a very difficult man to catch. And, it's a tradition that we always have the chairman of the chamber in one of our events. And we are glad to have you again. And and brought us these perspectives from the private sector. And Dr. Jagat Manasina, okay, great to have you with us as the new chairman of UDA. And I believe that you're going to face many, many, many challenges as the megapolis project takes off. And good luck and best wishes. And thank you so much, Nishan. So here is another man that I shamelessly exploit his generosity. And as usual, you very skillfully. Of course, we had heavyweights on the panel, but what is also important is we have clever moderator who will be able to create that tension and create that intellectual discourse. So thanks so much once again. And just two more areas I would like to pick. One is, even though it wasn't mentioned in those words, I believe that we were talking about inclusive growth, whether megapolis will bring inclusive growth. So that's one thing we will tackle tomorrow. And I think we already have seen that institutional framework is an issue. We don't have an institutional framework. I believe what we have is a fragmented institutional framework, highly granularized institutional framework, not because of any more than the utility value. They are purely due to political reasons. So I believe that we will deal with that tomorrow in detail. And Nayana said that he wants capacity, to build capacity, and he's looking for someone to build LRT and who has an experience in building LRT. So tomorrow you will hear from somebody who has hands-on experience on designing, building and managing LRT. I will not disclose the name of the speaker now, so we'll hear from him tomorrow. And Nishan mentioned about the last few minutes we spent about discourse, and that is what we do. Okay, our job is to create that discourse, create the platform for discourse, bring in people from multiple disciplines and create that. We did that under the white van regime, and we do that in Yapala regime without any political bias and with the best interest of the nation and the people in mind. And with that, I would like to thank you once again. And just one more thing, so tomorrow we don't come here. We will not be meeting here. We will be meeting at Oak Room, and make sure you bring a badge. Otherwise, you will not be able to walk inside the room. And one more thing, by the way, the finance bill will not be defeated by one vote, because in true Sri Lankan fashion, I made a facilitating donation to a certain opposition MP. Not my money. I don't want to say who funded that. Not any of our sponsors. Okay, sorry. So, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and thank wonderful panel who made this evening. Okay. And now the most exciting and much looked forward event of the day. Join us for cocktails. Thank you and have a pleasant evening.